Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you here to the main ceremonial hall of the University of Vienna, and I can do it personally. It's very, very nice for me. Here at the University of Vienna, the foundation of World University Service was laid. Therefore, let me start with a brief look back at the history of World University Service. Changes are always initiated by brave people who come together with other brave people. After the First World War, Europe found itself in a devastating and tragic situation. As you know, it was a time marked by suffering and diseases, a lack of food and clothes, a time of destruction. While Europe was in ruins and was dependent on national and international relief measures, the big questions were, how can we rebuild Europe? And in particular, who can rebuild Europe? You quoted the book Rebuilding Europe. I will stress a second quote I found in this book. The key to the salvation of the nations lay so obviously in the universities, the nurseries of leadership. The universities of leadership the universities as nurseries of leadership. So the most important impact universities have on society beyond the results of research are the students, the graduates, and the alumni. But students at that time were in no better situation than the rest. They found themselves homeless. They were starving, they were weak and ill. In 1920, against the backdrop of the devastating consequences of World War I, the foundation of the organization was laid, European Student Relief. The predecessor organization of World University Service had the aim to support students and professors of the University of Vienna, the regional group. It was intended to address the gap in humanitarian aid for the educational needs of university students across whole Europe. And it was the University of Vienna that became the original headquarters of these activities. 1 year ago, people believed that people educated at universities were capable of changing the world for the better. And this is what we still believe. Universities have a social mission. Universities have a political mission in a broad sense. The mission is still the same, though our means of carrying it out might be different now. Support measures must be adjusted to current conditions. This is the topic of this conference. In general, if we talk about missions of universities, we must talk about educating the rebels and the leaders of the next generation. Rebels and leaders that our society needs. Therefore, the University of Vienna is constantly striving to strengthen the offering and services, for example, for first-generation students. We want to bring an end to the situation in which it is still the person's social background that decides whether they might receive a university education or not. We want to support students with migration background, students from Eastern European countries, students from countries of the Global South, and so on. The last year in particular showed us that the university can never stand still. The mission of a university is a constant one that cannot just take a break because of a global pandemic. Changes are always initiated by brave people that come together with other brave people. But they only can go far when the framework around them enables them to do so. Therefore, it's one of the most important aims of your organization. Let's work together on this enabling framework for students and for their education for the 21st century. Congratulations.
Distinguished guests and fellow educators, I'm truly honored to be invited to address you this morning in my capacity as the new rector and president of the Central European University in Vienna and in Budapest, to address you on this momentous occasion that marks the 100th, or actually we should say 101st anniversary of the World University Services. In India, actually, I should say in parentheses, zeros are inauspicious. So we always celebrate anniversaries adding the 1. So 101 is a much more auspicious number for us in India than 100 would have been. So unfortunately, the pandemic has led to this auspiciousness, but therefore, I think it's a wonderful way to celebrate on your 101st anniversary the remarkable achievements of the WUS in Europe, but also worldwide. I wish to thank WUS Austria, together with WUS Canada and also WUS Germany, in cooperation with the University of Vienna and the Austrian Federal Ministry of Education and Science and Research, for bringing this conference to life and for inviting us, the Central European University, as co-organizers of this event. A very warm congratulations to the World University Service for all its remarkable achievements and its continuing pursuit of the right to, or making the right to access to education and quality education a reality everywhere and for all. I would also like to applaud on this occasion Austria's strong commitment to education and to human rights, without which my university, the Central European University, may have been left homeless. Last year, the WUS celebrated the centenary of its founding, but 2020, let us not forget, also marked another anniversary. It marked 60 years of the adoption of the UNESCO Convention Against Discrimination in Education, the first international instrument to cover the right to education with a binding force in international law. A remarkable milestone in the struggle for access to education worldwide and within every society. The right to education, regardless of social class, race, gender, ethnic background, sexuality, or disability of any kind, is of fundamental importance because it empowers not only individuals, it combats social inequalities, it enhances political participation, civic engagement, encourages rational deliberation and debate, and it also equalizes life chances, in addition to reducing poverty. In representing entry to civic participation and by facilitating labor market access, the right to education, the right to quality education, also plays a key role in the integration of migrants, refugees, and disadvantaged, marginalized communities. As we all know too well, the Convention is frequently violated. It's also often ignored. The provision of quality education for all is an integral part of the very mission of the Central European University. It's part of our strong and enduring commitment to open societies, not only in Eastern and Central Europe, which was the founding moment 30 years ago when the Central European University was set up, but it's also our mission today worldwide as we provide quality education to students from over 100 countries, many of whom would never have been able to afford this education, but for the scholarships we provide to almost 80% of our students, enabling them access to education, which gives them, as many of you know, in our case, dual degrees. We are accredited both as an American university here in Vienna as well as an Austrian university. But the second part of our mission, I think, is equally important to stress today, and that is the protection of and furthering of academic freedom, the spirit of critical inquiry, intellectual debate, and civic engagement, all equally crucial to our founding mission and our continuing work. We aim to educate not only excellent academics, but also concerned, responsible citizens. And as we just heard from Minister Fassmann, and he cautioned us on this, academic freedom is something that we unfortunately cannot take for granted in the world in which we live today. Nor can we take institutional autonomy as a given. We need to work daily to protect and to further these. In late 2018, the CEU was forced to suspend OLEV, our initiative designed to give refugees and asylum seekers in Budapest, in Hungary, access to higher education. The closure of this program was a direct result of new Hungarian laws, which imposed punitive taxes on organizations that help migrants, so-called supporters of immigration, as they were called. And this law significantly restricted the ability of educational institutions, NGOs, and individuals to support asylum seekers in their quest for education. Refugees, asylum seekers, both. Just 2 years later, at a point of time which we could not really have imagined earlier, the CEU itself The CEU itself was forced by a new law promulgated by the Hungarian government, which constrained our ability to teach courses accredited as part of our US teaching. We were forced to move these courses to Austria, a country where, fortunately, academic freedom is enshrined in law. I'm delighted to say that the CEU has been warmly welcomed to the city. We feel this is our new home, and this is the city in which the World University Service, with all the values that you stand for, was founded, and not the least, many of the colleagues who are present with us today have been instrumental in helping the CEU to transition to Vienna and helping us in finding us a new home here. Hungary is unfortunately not the only country in which academic freedom is being curtailed today. It's being curtailed in very many ways across the globe, every day, in many, many countries. And academic freedom is threatened, the access to education is controlled, restricted by law, by administrative fiat, by institutional practices, but also by familial circumstances or by deep-rooted cultural or religious biases, some of which we have seen recently come to the fore again after the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. Scholars are being sanctioned, intimidated, imprisoned, the rights of women curtailed in the entire educational sector in many countries of the global south in a large way. Therefore, this is a good moment once again to remind ourselves of the importance of the call, and the call here today for education for all, quality education for all. The work of the World University Service that we celebrate today is therefore urgent and of utmost importance. for education is an essential, fundamental human right, and the stakes have never been higher. Congratulations, and thank you very much.